He didn't look like a monster when he hit me. He looked like the man I married. The first blow landed so fast my brain didn't keep up. One moment we were shouting in that cramped house, voices bouncing off the walls like ricocheting bullets. The next, my head snapped to the side, and for a second I thought the room had moved, not me. I tasted blood before I understood what had happened. You'd think a woman who had spent years performing in front of stadiums, surviving tabloids, Catholic outrage, death threats, and being branded a whore by half the world would know how to stand up in a living room with one angry man. But fear is very private. It doesn't care how famous you are. I remember the sound more than the pain. That sharp, sickening crack that didn't sound cinematic, didn't sound like a movie punch. It was small, ugly, embarrassingly real. And the silence after it was even worse. I could hear my own breathing. His too. "Look what you make me do," he said. That line is universal. Men like him say it in every language, in every country, in every cheap apartment and luxury home. They all think they're special, tortured, misunderstood artists with storms inside them. It always comes down to the same sentence. "Look what you made me do." I pressed my fingers to my lip and saw the smear of red. My first stupid thought was practical. How fast can they cover this with makeup? My second thought was worse. This is not the first time he's hurt you. It's just the first time he hit you like this. Because the truth is, the violence started long before his hand ever met my face. It started with the slamming doors, the broken glasses, the holes suddenly appearing in walls. It started with the look he'd get when another man laughed a little too loudly at my joke, when a stranger took too long to hand me a pen, when some journalist dared to mention my name without his in the same sentence. It started with that jealous, narrow gaze that said, "You're mine." And I'm not sure that's enough. I married Sean because I thought I was marrying someone who understood what it meant to be devoured by the public. We were both young, both famous, both burning like fireworks in a dark sky. I thought that meant we were on the same side. What I didn't see was how fame and insecurity ferment together. They turn into something toxic, something that smells like love, but burns like acid. "You're laughing," he said that night. "You think this is funny?" I wasn't laughing. My lips were swollen, my cheek was starting to ache, and my heart was racing so fast it felt like it was trying to run without me. I wasn't thinking about charts or tours or the cameras that waited outside wherever we dared to go. I was thinking, nobody will believe me. They love him. They love us. We're the beautiful couple on the magazine covers. They don't see this. They don't want to. He stepped closer, and for a second I saw the man I first met, the one with the reckless grin, the one who looked at me like I was not just a star but a person. The one who could make me laugh when the press had turned me into a punchline. I saw him, and then I watched him disappear behind the rage. "You think you're better than me," he said. That was the real crime in his head. Not whatever he imagined I had done. Not whatever rumors he'd heard or twisted into something worse. The unforgivable sin was that I was visible in a way he couldn't control. I was Madonna, and he needed to feel bigger than that. He grabbed my arm. Hard. The fingers dug in deep enough that I knew I'd see them later, printed on my skin like a guilty signature. For a moment, I thought he'd throw me, or drag me, or do something worse. I could feel the thin, sharp edge of panic scraping under my ribs, demanding to be heard. Then something inside me snapped back. I am not a saint. I am not a martyr. I am not a woman who is born to be anyone's punching bag, no matter how tortured his childhood was or how many cigarettes he's lit at 3 a.m. while mumbling about demons. "Let go," I said. My voice didn't sound like the one I use on stage. It was low, tight, dangerous. The kind of voice that belongs to a woman who has already survived too much to play polite for a man who can't control his hands. For a second, he didn't. His grip tightened, and I saw that wild, cornered look flicker through his eyes. The look that says, if I let go now, I'm the bad guy. If I hold on, maybe I can still make this your fault. He let go. Not because he suddenly became kind. Not because he realized what he was doing. He let go because he knew I was watching him like a witness now, not a wife. There's a shift that happens in moments like this, The intimacy breaks and reality walks in. The woman who loved you becomes the woman who might call someone. And in that moment, I knew something that hurt more than the slap. This was not an accident. This was who he really was when the doors were closed and there were no cameras.
You don't come back from that.
People like to romanticize passionate men. They love the narrative of the bad boy who drinks too much, shouts too loud, breaks things, and then writes poems about how sorry he is. They'll say, "He just loves you so much, he doesn't know what to do with it." I wish I could take every woman who believes that and sit her in that room with me that night. Let her taste the copper of her own blood. Let her see how small and stupid romantic jealousy looks when it's standing over you, breathing heavy. There is nothing romantic about fear. The sad part is this wasn't new. The marriage had been a battlefield from almost the beginning. We fought like two people who didn't know how to be loved without being hurt. Every tabloid headline was another grenade. Every rumor, another bullet. Every flirtation, real or imagined, became a trial. He'd pace, he'd drink, he'd accuse, he'd smash something, and then we'd make up as if drama was our native language and peace was something we were allergic to. But that night, something crossed a line. When his hand hit my face, all the illusions shattered. My brain didn't have room to hold the image of us smiling on red carpets and laughing in interviews. All I could see was a man who felt entitled to my body in every way, including the right to hurt it. The queen of reinvention. The woman who had built herself from the ground up, who had refused to be quiet or small or obedient. And here I was, standing in my own home, realizing I was trapped in a story women have been telling for centuries. "Are you going to hit me again?" I asked. He flinched like the question offended him. Like the problem wasn't what he'd done, but that I dared to name it. Abusers hate clarity. They thrive in fog and confusion, and maybe I misunderstood. They want you to doubt your memory, your perception, your right to be safe. He muttered something, an insult, a justification, I don't even remember. I just know the air between us felt contaminated. Not with passion, not with love, but with the knowledge that the next time he got angry, my face might be the target again.
He went outside.
Slammed the door so hard the walls rattled. I heard the car engine roar to life. Tires screeched. And then it was quiet. Too quiet. I stood there in the middle of our beautiful, expensive cage with my heart pounding in my throat and my cheek throbbing. I walked to the bathroom, turned on the light, and looked at myself in the mirror.
Madonna.
The woman everyone thought was untouchable. My lip was split. My cheek was flaring red. My eyes looked older than they had that morning, like I'd aged a decade in an hour. I tried to smile, just to see what it would look like on camera, and the pain shot across my face like a warning. For a moment, I wanted to minimize it. To tell myself it was the heat of the moment, that everyone fights, that he's under pressure, that the paparazzi drive him crazy, that it's not easy being married to me either. I heard all the excuses women recite in their heads when they don't want to admit they're in danger. Then I thought about the girl I had been in New York, broke and sleeping on floors, too stubborn to go home. I thought about the promises I made to myself back then, that no man, no church, no industry executive would ever own me. What would she say if she saw me now? She'd say, "Call someone."
So I did.
My hands were shaking as I picked up the phone. Not because I was weak, but because doing the right thing when you love someone who hurts you feels like betrayal, even when you're the one bleeding. I dialed, and every ring felt like a countdown. To what? I wasn't sure. Freedom. Scandal.
Both.
When a voice finally answered, I heard myself speak calmly, like I was reciting someone else's lines. "I need help," I said. "My husband hit me." There it was. Out loud. Irreversible. You'd think saying it would break my heart. It didn't. What broke my heart was realizing how long I'd been ignoring all the smaller violences that led us here. The insults, the suspicion, the way he'd grip my wrist just a little too hard when he was angry. The way he needed to win, even in arguments that didn't matter. The slap was not the beginning. It was the conclusion. The night stretched on, full of questions, statements, paperwork, glances that said more than anyone dared to speak. I watched strangers move through my house with professional detachment, taking notes, asking if I was okay.
No.
I wasn't okay. I was Madonna, and my marriage was collapsing one ugly truth at a time. When they left, the silence came back. I sat on the edge of the bed that had once been ours and stared at the window. The house felt empty, but not peaceful. It felt like a stage after closing. Lights off, seats empty, the echo of what had just happened still hanging in the air. Somewhere out there, people were buying magazines with our faces on the cover, believing in the fantasy of us. The wild, passionate couple, the fire and gasoline, the Hollywood legend. Somewhere, fans were listening to my songs about love and pain, imagining they knew me. They didn't know this part. They didn't know that the woman who had sung about being a material girl in a material world was now sitting in the dark, realizing that all the success in the world doesn't protect you from the oldest story there is. A man. A fist. A lie that says it's your fault. That night, I stopped being his wife in my heart. The paperwork would come later. The headlines, the lawyers, the statements, all that would be another war. But in that moment, with my cheeks still aching and my soul suddenly very clear, I understood something simple and brutal. This marriage wasn't passion. It was violence with good lighting. And I wasn't going to die in it. I didn't sleep the night after he hit me. Not out of fear he'd return. The police made sure he didn't. But because realization kept me awake, I had been asleep inside my own marriage for years. One moment of violence can wake you from a very long dream. I sat on the bedroom floor until sunrise, feeling the bruise pulse under my skin. The house around me felt like a crime scene, not a home. And as the light crept through the curtains, I understood something with absolute clarity. I wasn't hiding this anymore. When Sean came back the next day, he walked in like nothing had happened. Then he saw my face, the swollen cheek, the split lip, the look in my eyes, and something flickered in him. Not guilt. Not remorse. Embarrassment. Madonna, he started. I simply looked at him. He tried every script abusive menus. Rewriting reality. You're blowing this out of proportion. You know how I get when I'm stressed.
Guilt.
You'll ruin both our careers. You're supposed to be on my side. Fear. You think anyone will believe you? Then, when none of that worked, he softened. I love you, he whispered. I lose myself sometimes. That was the moment something inside me shut off completely. Not when he hit me. Not when I dialed the police. But right then, listening to him romanticize the violence he refused to face. I said, I'm leaving. He froze like the word itself was an attack. You can't just walk away. I already did. Packing was strangely peaceful. Every folded shirt and empty drawer felt like reclaiming a part of myself. He followed me from room to room, begging, raging, bargaining, accusing. You're being dramatic. You're ruining everything. You can't live without me. I zipped my suitcase. For a second, his face twisted into something dark, something I'd seen before. The need to dominate, to win, to hold on. Then he realized nothing he said was reaching me. Weakness terrifies men like him. The paparazzi were waiting outside. Flashbulbs exploded. Voices shouted questions about bruises, about arrests, about what had happened. I kept walking head high. I wasn't ashamed. He should have been. The weeks after were a blur of lawyers, statements, whispers, speculation. The tabloids were hungry. Fans took sides. People wanted a narrative, something glamorous or tragic. But there was nothing glamorous about leaving a violent marriage. Sean called constantly. Long voicemails. Dramatic apologies. Promises to change. Threats of despair. Everything except accountability. I listened to none of them. Survivors don't leave when the violence becomes unbearable. They leave when they stop believing the apology. When the divorce papers were finally ready, I signed my name without shaking. I expected to feel triumphant or devastated. Instead, I felt quiet. And then relief, slow, heavy, unmistakable. I walked outside the lawyer's office, removed my sunglasses, and let the sun hit the side of my face that had once been bruised. The skin had healed. The deeper wounds hadn't. But I was free. Free from the cycle of rage and remorse. Free from the myth that passion justifies pain. Free from a version of myself who tolerated what should never be tolerated. People ask if I regret the marriage. The truth is complicated. I regret not leaving earlier. I regret thinking I could fix him. I regret mistaking chaos for love. But I don't regret what it taught me. Because the woman who stood in the mirror with a split lip and said, "Enough," is the reason I survived the rest of my life. A year later, I stood backstage before a concert as thousands of fans chanted my name. Lights flashed, people rushed around me. The world buzzed loud and alive. It hit me then, as someone asked if I was nervous. "No," I said. "I've survived worse." And then I stepped into the light, not as his wife, not as a victim, but as the woman who walked away and never looked back.